Hello, welcome, and thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gumansing. Governor John de Jongh has submitted the fiscal year 2014 budget to the legislature on Friday. De Jongh transmitted the budget to senators 2 weeks after the May 30th deadline. He had put them on notice previously that it would be late, so his team could put together the best option for the territory. News 2's Erica Parsons has details.
The fiscal year 2014 budget is now in the hands of senators. On Friday, Governor de Jongh transmitted an executive budget his administration is calling a pathway to financial resiliency. They say it's a disciplined budget that maintains fiscal prudence while continuing to fund important investments for the territory. The budget that was due May 30th calls for $743.8 million in expenditures, backed by a net revenue projection of the same amount, which is up slightly from the current fiscal year. The budget is broken down into a number of categories, the four largest being $253.8 million for personnel services, $136.9 million for fringe benefits, $172.2 million in other services and charges, and $148.7 million in the miscellaneous category. Now, this is only a few pages of the 650-plus document that makes up the executive budget for fiscal year 2014. Governor de Jongh said he and his team tried to make it as lean a budget as possible, but there are still additional revenues needed. Economic and fiscal challenges have plagued the territory for the last several years, the biggest blow coming from the Hovensa refinery closure in 2012. To cut costs, de Jongh says they're not filling general fund positions unless critical. They've eliminated programs and services not justified, streamlined processes, and shifted costs to federal and special funds. The budget includes a continued focus on collecting past due taxes and restructuring bonds to achieve debt service savings, but also included in the budget are funding staff and costs of the new library in St. Thomas, funding higher health insurance premiums, reinstating the 8% to government salaries, funding improvements for the police department and correctional systems required by consent decrees, and investing in early childhood education. Erica Parsons, News 2.
The governor's team has outlined revenue options for senators to consider to help achieve a balanced budget. He is still calling for them to address the $23 million deficit for fiscal year 2013. Well, it's been half a year since Virgin Islanders went out to run or vote in the 2012 Virgin Islands general election, but for some, certain issues remain unsolved. In tonight's story, April Knight follows up on the appeals of 5 unsuccessful candidates who earlier in the year filed complaints and demanded that the 2012 election results be thrown out.
7 months after the 2012 Virgin Islands general elections, the controversy surrounding the accuracy of the vote count continues. And long after they lost their bid for positions, 5 unsuccessful candidates are still putting up a fight. In January, Diane McGrath, who was running for Board of Elections, and 4 other candidates filed a complaint with District Judge Raymond Finch regarding what they called anomalies in the 2012 elections. Among the claims is the alleged discrepancy between their vote count tally and the numbers that came out after the certification of the votes.
Witnesses that testified that there were discrepancies with numbers being, or names being crossed out the books.
To prove the discrepancy, McGrath and her fellow plaintiffs filed another request with the court to see the official election tally sheets. Today, they were granted access to the election system of the Virgin Islands records, which, according to McGrath, is long overdue.
It's now 6 months since we've been requesting it the first time, and this is ridiculous.
I think I got a letter from Ms. McGrath last month, and I responded to her. I believe some of the issues had to do with the lack of a St. Thomas St. John deputy who had custody of the documents and never told anyone where the documents were.
The question now is, what can McGrath and the other complainants do with this information this late in the game?
Well, we need to have a new election. Who's sitting there right now? They're selected, they're not elected.
I don't see how those tally sheets would make any difference. And I don't know of any court that have overturned the election.
April Knight, News 2.
And as of today, Diane McGrath and other complainants have not fully released their findings with the tally sheets. News 2 will continue to keep you updated on this story. Police are investigating an armed robbery that occurred in the Sunny Isles Shopping Center on June 17th today. Police said at least 2 armed and masked individuals entered the Perfection gift store and took jewelry. The suspects are still being sought. However, police did confiscate a vehicle.
Police said the preliminary investigation revealed that the suspects then fled the store toward the back parking lot of the shopping center. They then fled the area in a blue vehicle and traveled over the Benny Benjamin Drive, which is also known as Rattan Road. Police later found a blue Hyundai Accent, which they believe is the vehicle used by the suspects. This was found in the St. John area. The vehicle was confiscated and processed by forensic technicians.
Meanwhile, detectives on St. Croix are also asking the community for any information about a recent murder in the State Williams Delight. On June 15th, sometime after 2 p.m., 21-year-old Jose Bess was shot and later died from his injuries at the Wanaflui Hospital. No suspects have been apprehended, and detectives are seeking the community's help in solving this case. They urge you to contact any law enforcement officer that you know, or you can call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS, where you can leave an anonymous tip. Meanwhile, police on St. Thomas reported that 3 men were stabbed on June 16th while inside the Metropolis nightclub located in Subbase. They continue to investigate, and they're asking for your help. If you know something, please call.
Police encountered 2 stabbing victims on the stairwell of the business. Those victims were taken by ambulance to the hospital for treatment. A 3rd victim was taken to the hospital by a private vehicle. Police also went to the hospital to follow up on this case. One victim told police that he was on the dance floor when a fight between 2 males escalated next to him and he was stabbed. Another victim was in surgery and could not speak to police at that time, and police said a 3rd victim refused to give them any information. Police are urging anyone who was at Metropolis nightclub and has any information on these stabbings to tell detectives what they know. You can help police maintain the safety of the community through your involvement.
The Investigation Bureau on St. Thomas arrested 2 men for forging checks from a local restaurant on St. Thomas. Randy Gums and Jerome Farley, both 36, were arrested on June 13th and charged with forgery, grand larceny, obtaining money by false pretenses, and conspiracy. Detectives say an investigation found that on July 17th, 2012, the 2 men forged several checks belonging to Beniguana's Sushi Bar. Farley was employed at Beniguana's and conspired with Gums in the crime. According to reports, bail was set at $10,000 each. The Virgin Islands Police Department's Crime Prevention Bureau announces their summer enrichment programs for children and young adults beginning on June 24th. The VIPD's Cadet Summer Boot Camp is geared towards 12 to 16-year-old teens, which involves respect, discipline, team building, and more. It's located only on St. Thomas and on St. Croix. The Police Athletic League programs, PAL, they're located at the Burning Bush in Christiansted and Estate Wim in Frederiksted. Back on St. Thomas, the PAL program will be held at Paul M. Pearson's Community Center. This program is geared towards ages 4 to 14. You can contact any local police station for more information. Well, keeping our eye on the economy, the Fed begins a 2-day meeting tomorrow. Fed officials are likely to conclude that the economy is recovering more slowly than expected. Talks on a massive trade deal between Eurozone countries and the United States will happen next month in Washington, D.C. President Obama called the EU-U.S. relation, quote, the biggest in the world, after meeting with European leaders at the G8 summit in Northern Ireland. This is the New York Stock Exchange with Scotiabank Stock Market Watch. The Dow, NASDAQ, S&P all up. The Dow 109, NASDAQ 28, S&P 12. Coming up on News 2, St. John Festival events, keeping you on schedule with a lineup on Love City. Plus, a history project goes down in the history books for some students. We'll tell you how these students were rewarded. We'll be right back. Well, it was a colorful evening of pageantry over on St. John for the 2013 Festival Princess Competition this past Sunday, where all the young ladies in the Princess Show were winners. The 2013 crown went to 9-year-old Faith Marie Sweeney, who also won Miss Intellect, Best Evening Wear, Best Sportswear, Miss Photogenic, and Best Storybook Character. Sade Reimer Brumont won First Runner-Up, and Shaquila Lewis won Third Runner-Up and Miss Congeniality. Congratulations to all the contestants. Meanwhile, the next huge events coming up are the Festival Musical Mix, 9 p.m. Friday at the Winston Wells Ball Field, and Saturday is the St. John Festival Queen Selection, 8 p.m. also at the Winston Wells Ball Field. Then on Sunday, it's the Food Fair and Coronation of the Royalty. That's at 1 p.m. at the Franklin Powell Park. Then the boat races 3 p.m. at the Cruz Bay Harbor. Then some fun for the young ones. The Children's Festival Village opens up at 6 p.m. at St. John National Park. Well, since February of this year, some 34 students from the Adelita Cancrine Junior High School started working on a writing project about VI history. Today, their hard work was rewarded as they proudly presented their final product, a full-color book entitled Wonders of the Virgin Islands. Only 22 of the 34 student entries were included in this edition, but the publishing company, Student Treasures, is working on publishing a second installment. If you want to see it for yourself, this wonderful achievement by our VI middle schoolers, you can go to Cancrine and ask for a copy or get it online at www.studenttreasures.com.
The purpose of the project is to basically encourage students to somehow develop or motivate them to write and to recognize the importance of writing. And this is why we figured if we put something like this in place, it would somehow not only encourage them, but other students as well.
Congratulations to all the students. Well, as we reported last week, a VI family is asking for your help for their 4-year-old daughter. Michaela Francois was diagnosed in January with a rare blood disorder called Fanconi anemia. She needs a bone marrow transplant in order to ultimately survive. Michaela's parents, Tino and Tamara Francois, and other family members were tested, but no one was a match. The family will be hosting a bone marrow drive on June 22nd from 9:30 to 3 at Lockhart Elementary School on St. Thomas.
Basically, I was told that her best chances of finding a match would be where my husband and I originated from, which he came from St. Croix and I am from St. Thomas. So we're most likely to find a match for her from somewhere in the Virgin Islands rather than in the states where we're from.
NEWS2 will have more on how you can help on Tuesday's newscast. Magens Bay Beach was home to an assortment of mouth-watering chicken wings Saturday afternoon for the 4th annual King of the Wing competition here on St. Thomas. Wing lovers came out in waves for the annual wing cook-off. Over 20 teams lined on the beach, fighting for the chance to take home the trophy. Among the winners were the Budget Rent-A-Car team in the non-restaurants division and Fatty Taco Hell team. They took the top spot for restaurants. It wasn't all about bragging rights on the grill, though. All proceeds went to the Nana Baby home. Congratulations to all the competitors. An all-jazz musical celebration is gearing up. Another Waiko concert featuring RC and Company as the main act. It's Ron Cricky on piano, Neil Simon on bass, Ryan Dial on drums, Pedrito Robles on percussion. Opening act is Danny Silver with Pipe Dream. That's from 5 to 6 p.m. Now, there will be also many other special guests, so head over to the Waiko Dock on Tuesday. All the music kicks off at 5 p.m. and it goes on till 9. Starting Monday, field crews from the Street Addressing Initiative will begin work in the Shaladamali pilot area. Crews plan to visit each residence and business to leave information packets that have the new assigned address. Property owners are asked to confirm that their existing property address in the tax database is correct. If not, you should contact the Lieutenant Governor's office. The affected area will be the historic district extending as far as Commandant's Gata on the west side, Bluebeard's Hill to the east, and the hospital line to the north. A 4.1 magnitude earthquake caused light shaking in the U.S. Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands on Monday morning. According to the United States Geological Survey, the quake occurred at about 7:33 a.m. local time at a depth of 40 kilometers. Its epicenter was about 50 kilometers northeast of Road Town in the British Virgin Islands and about 79 kilometers northeast of Shaladamali in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The most reports of shaking were on Tortola and the BVI. No damage or injuries were reported. Well, ham radio operators across the territory will team up with Vitima to show off their emergency capabilities during the 2013 Field Day. The public is invited to see ham radios new abilities, and learn how to get their own Federal Communications Commission or FCC radio license before the next disaster strikes. The events will take place from 2 p.m. on June 22nd through 5 p.m. on the 23rd on St. Croix at the DC Canagata Ballpark Complex and on St. John at the Vitima Emergency Operating Center. Well, stick around. Your News 2 AccuWeather forecast is coming up next.